Bruchim Aboim B'Shem Irgen Shirei Torah. I would like to welcome everyone to today's shir from Rabbi Yakov Zev Smith Shlita, the topic of Shehecheyanu or Hatov U'maitiv, which is said. Whoever would like to have the great choson sponsoring a shir, call Irgen Shirei Torah at 718-851-8651 or email tapecenter@yeshivanet.com. Narrow Smith.
Recently we had a few shilas talk about Shehecheyanu versus Vehamaitiv. Someone had a newborn baby. What bracha is it? Do you make a bracha? Him, his wife. The question someone bought a new car. Is there a Shehecheyanu or Vehamaitiv? Someone bought a very expensive appliance. So as our derech always is to try to find, I guess, the background, a little bit of the sugya of what the mitzvah is all about, and hopefully we could know enough to apply it lamaisa. The emes, the Shehecheyanu, I think we're more familiar with. We have it throughout the year on the tovim. But the Shehecheyanu has a specific meaning. And that is what we find the Gemara in Erev and Daf Mem Amud Beis. The Gemara is a shaila if you say Shehecheyanu on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Because really, it's technically not one of the Gimel Regalim, it's not a Yom Tiv. But then again, says the Gemara, Kivan de Mizman Lezman Asi, since Yom Tiv comes seasonally, it comes every Pesach, there's Pesach and Sukkot and Shavuos. So since Yom Tiv comes in a certain time of the year, every year, Lazman Hazeh, and the same applies to Rosh Hashanah, perhaps we could, and Yom Kippur, so perhaps we can make a Shehecheyanu even on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. So the Gemara says that Lamaisa, our minig is, yes, we do make a Shehecheyanu on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. The Gemara says we make a Shehecheyanu on a fresh fruit when we see a new fruit, as Rashi explains. But that's not a raya, because that's only a reshus. But on Yom Tiv, that it is definitely mizman lizman. So on the Gimel Regalim, Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, Chanukah and Purim, we make a Shehecheyanu. So the truth is, this needs hezbah. Yom Kippur, there's no kiddush, there's no eating. What is the Shehecheyanu going on? And also Rashi mentioned, which is really Beferish Gemara, Haroya Peri Chadash, when a person sees the new crop, he makes a bracha. He's not eating anything, he's just seeing it. Technically, you walk into a fruit store, you look at the new fruit, make a Shehecheyanu and walk out. But what kind of Shehecheyanu is that? So the answer, Rabbi said, which is the yesod of Shehecheyanu, is it's not the taste of the fruit, it's not the kiddush per se, it's just like the words that we say, Shehecheyanu, Vikimanu, Vigiyanu, Lazman Hazeh. A person is Zaycha to another Pesach, he has to make a bracha, he's thankful that he's still here. Imagine someone like Leno had a massive heart attack after Purim, and by Pesach time he feels better. So can you imagine his Shehecheyanu that he'll say by the Seder night? You know, people that are not here by the Seder any longer, and he's still here. So I ask you, if a person wasn't sick and he was healthy from Rosh Hashanah till Pesach, shouldn't there be even a bigger Shehecheyanu? We have to get sick to appreciate life. So Shehecheyanu, Vikimanu, Vigiyanu, Lazman Hazeh. So there are different pshatim. The Rekeach in Shin Ayin Aleph has a pshat, but I think the pshat of the pshat is Shehecheyanu, I'm alive in Gashmias, Kimanu, I'm alive in Ruchnias, Vigiyanu, Lazman Hazeh, and now I have another Pesach to live both Begashmias and Beruchnias. But the ikka focus is the word Lazman Hazeh. It's a seasonal bracha. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Chanukah, Purim, Pesach, and Shavuos. Of course, it's a very powerful thank you that the person is supposed to say. This also explains why mi'ikka din there is at least a reshus to say a Shehecheyanu on a fresh fruit. Again, it's not the taste of it, the biggest raya, because the Gemara holds mi'ikka din you make on the re'iyah. So it's not the taste. So what then is it? So again, this is something that today is hard to appreciate, but put yourself back 200 years ago, and you have a apple orchard, so during the winter nothing is growing. And all of a sudden it starts to grow. So a fresh crop seasons another period of my life. I went through the winter, I survived the winter, now I see a fresh crop. So it's not the taste of the fruit, but again, it's a different form of Lazman Hazeh. That's why many poskim question today, where we have fruits available a whole year, They import fruits from this side of the world, from that side of the world. They very often freeze fruits. B'kitzah, not only you don't know if it's frozen, if it's fresh, but you don't even know if it's a fresh crop, where it's from. So the simcha, when you went out and you saw a fig tree that was giving fruit, that made a Shehecheyanu. Today you look at a fresh fruit, you don't see that simcha. Okay, some people, if they're certain that they know this is a fresh crop, they will make a Shehecheyanu. But it's very understandable that today the fresh fruit, the fresh crop no longer symbolizes the Shehecheyanu lazman hazeh. Certainly the dried fruit, that's not even a fresh crop. I remember when I was in yeshiva, the Tu B'Shvat, they gave bochur. So I used to say that the worms in the bochur are older than me. Certainly no reason for a Shehecheyanu. So dried fruit certainly doesn't have a Shehecheyanu, and even fresh fruit, make sure that it is a fresh crop. And then kallah, then some will make a Shehecheyanu. The big question is, fine, I got it. Shehecheyanu on yomim, Shehecheyanu on fresh fruit. What's the reason, what's the source to make a Shehecheyanu on a new purchase? I bought a car, where's that coming from? That's not a seasonal thing you do, you don't do it every few months. So indeed, this is a different type of Shehecheyanu. It's not the lazman hazeh because it's seasonal, but a person is zaycha to a very special purchase, so he's thankful that I'm alive to see this purchase. But you should know, we'll soon see, that's why the Rashba in Chelik Aleph Siman Reish Mem Hey, there was some Gedolim, he calls them Gedolim, that didn't make a Shehecheyanu on new purchases. Why? Because it's not in the Gemara. The real Shehecheyanu is on a Yom Tiv, lazman hazeh. We also say a fresh crop is a form of the man hazeh. But a new purchase, and they didn't make on a new purchase. We'll soon see the minig as many people do make, but as we see, the Shehecheyanu is really focusing on lazman hazeh. Now the big question is, where does the bracha of Hatov U'maitiv come from? It doesn't mention Shehecheyanu, Kimanu, V'giyanu. It doesn't mention lazman hazeh. So this is a Mishnah. I guess you got a head start for Daf Yomi and Daf Nun Daled Amud Beis and brachas. Ala geshamim, ala b'seiros tovos. When it rains, of course, after being dry for many weeks, and it was a critical level of sakana, so it started to rain, or there's good news. We'll soon see a birth of a child. Oimar Hatov U'maitiv. You make a Hatov U'maitiv. The next words in the Mishnah, Bana bayis chadash. He built a new home, v'kana kelim chadashim, or he bought a new car. Oimar Shehecheyanu. So the Gemara Daf Nun Tes Amud Beis wonders, what's the difference? Why rain and a birth of a child is Hatov U'maitiv, and why bayis chadash Shehecheyanu? So you have to somewhat of a discussion. The Gemara says, had the islay shutvis, had the leslay shutvis. So the way Rashi explains, to make a long story short, on a very special occasion, a simcha, a new purchase, you make a Shehecheyanu. Bona bayis chadash, Shehecheyanu. But if you have a shutvis and you enjoy that simcha with someone else, for example, a person in Eretz Yisrael, it wasn't raining for many weeks, it was dangerous. It started to rain, so the minig was they made a Shehecheyanu. If I had a field with someone else b'shutvis, so now the rain was benefiting us together, we have a joint benefit from the rain, that requires Hatov U'maitiv. Why? The mere fact that we are enjoying something together requires a different bracha. And the Gemara says, K'tzari shel davar, Rashi's klali shel davar, al shaloi, your own simcha, Shehecheyanu. Al shaloi v'al shel chaveroi, you make Hatov U'maitiv. So basically, I think the most important two words for Hatov U'maitiv is, like I said, a joint benefit, you make a bracha of Hatov U'maitiv. The Rav in the Mishnayos explains, Hatov l'didei, v'amaitiv l'achrina. And the Gemara gives, again, example about rain. We'll soon see the birth of a baby, Yerusha. But basically, as we see, the simple meaning of Shehecheyanu is my simcha. Hatov U'maitiv is a joint simcha. But there's a little more we have to understand before we could apply it lamaisa. And there's a Rashba in the Chuvas Chelik Dalet Siman Ayin Zayin that makes the whole sugya lichtig. The Rashba was asked if a few people saw a relative they hadn't seen in a long time. So Medina Gemara, you make a Shehecheyanu. But now a few people are seeing the relative. Do they make a Vehamaitiv? So the Rajba is making a mistake. It's not a few people that are seeing a relative, because the biggest raya, says the Rajba, if we all see a fresh crop, we don't make a Vehamaitiv, we make Shehecheyanu. And if it rains in Eretz Yisrael, we all see the rain. Loi b'chol davar shenenu hu v'acheirim. Ela davar sheyesh bei toyelas v'hana boi ul'acheirim. When there's a joint benefit that two people are enjoying something together, then the bracha is Hatov U'maitiv. For example, if it rains in Eretz Yisrael, which is a tremendous simcha, but each person owns their own field, Shehecheyanu. If I have a partnership with someone else and we enjoy the rain together, that's called a joint benefit. That's a Hatov U'maitiv. If a couple have a baby boy, that's a joint benefit. If two or more brothers yarshin their father, that's a joint benefit. But the fact that a few people are enjoying the rain, or a few people are enjoying the new relative, if it's not a joint benefit, there's no Hatov U'maitiv. This is the Yisai, the Rashi Hanoas Toyelas. It has to be a joint benefit. Now, what it seems to me is that what's pshat? Because a person that has a Yiddish neshama, when you have something for yourself, so that's an eigen simcha. But when you're enjoying it with someone else, a Yid that's living after Echa Kamoicha, that's a greater simcha. If you're able to share your simcha with someone else, we both had a baby, we both have a field, and we benefit from the rain, that's a greater simcha. You know, it's interesting, the pasuk in Bereshis, Leitov hayoisa adam levadoi. It's no good a person is alone. So Reb Chaim Shulevitz in Amud Kuf Chavav and the Shmuzin asked the question, was ist schlecht? Adam Arisha was in Gan Eden, not, it was Me'ein Olam Haba. He was in Gan Eden. He had no worries in the world. He had everything. What's so bad to be alone? So as he puts it, you could be in Gan Eden with all the chemdas and the idunim of the Gan Eden, but if you can't share your simcha with someone else, it's an incomplete simcha. And he quotes the Kuntres HaSveikis. Kuntres HaSveikis writes, a few hundred years ago, if a person could fly up to Shemayim and see the Tzvoyis, Ma'ila, Sidram, V'Yishram, he could see the entire Neflois HaBoira, he wouldn't enjoy it as much if he couldn't come down to this world and share it with someone else. Because that's in our DNA, that's a Yiddish neshama. You have something yourself, and eigen simcha, okay. But if you could share it with someone else, it's just a better quality simcha. A private simcha is good. A simcha that I enjoy with others is a greater simcha. So that's what the Rashba means. If I have a bigger simcha, I have to have a better bracha. Shehecheyanu fits the bill for me. When it's me and someone else, Shehecheyanu is not enough. You have to make a Hatov U'maitiv. I'll give you a mashal. If you make a boyer pri adam on an apple, you're yaitza, because it comes from the ground. But Chazal mandated a new bracha, bar pri eitz. Why? Because Adam is good, but not good enough. It grows from a tree lasts the winter. So eitz is a bigger hana than Adam. It gets a better bracha. Hatov U'maitiv is a joint benefit, that's a bigger hana. A bigger hana requires a bigger bracha. It's amazing, in Hilchas brachas, like so many other mitzvahs that we have, you see the matan schar b'tzidi, you see the schar b'hayalma. The whole concept of brachas is a karas hatov, which really improves quality of life in a very real way. The Alter von Kelm in Chelik Beis, Shin Mem Zayin writes, we show whenever we speak to people that the Torah comes to sweeten our lives, to improve the quality of our lives in Olam Hazeh. Lahafli Moed. Torah is here to make us happier people. Yenevelt, Eini Yodei. I can't imagine how much. But the mission statement of Torah is to make people happier people. And I think this is such a perfect example. Because the biggest threat to a person's happiness is when, like we used to call it, sekumpnach. In English now they have a word for it, entitlement. He believes that he deserves everything. So his wife makes him something, a big deal. I got a ksuba. His parents make him something, big deal. When something goes wrong, that's already, he can't handle that. Because kumpnichal stink, I'm the center of the universe. So hakaras hatov man dechar shmei, when something goes wrong, he's already ice mensch. But then the Torah stresses hakaras hatoiv. Recognize. See every last bit of good and recognize it. Hakaras hatoiv. Acknowledge it. But look at the lesson here. A person buys a new car, a Shehecheyanu. But if you have family that enjoy it, there's a little more hana, make a better bracha. Vehamaitiv. Don't overlook anything. See Shehecheyanu, see Vehamaitiv. That's really the lesson, the Hesiris of Shehecheyanu versus Vehamaitiv. It's all about a hakaras hatoiv, which in a real sense is simchas achayim. Someone appreciates things, he feels he got something, he's happy. If he thinks a kutnich and big deal, so his life is one big deal. But if you appreciate it, you're happy. You know, it's interesting, the Magen Avram in our Sim, in Reish Chav Gimel Siv Beis, he says when a person says, Hatov U'maitiv yishtachava neged mizrach, he bows down. So the Archashoch in the beginning of our Sim wonders, I don't know why we do that. But the emphasis in both in Chai Yisar and Parshas Boy, we find when they gave Haidah, Vayishtachvu Artzal Hashem, so Rashi becomes Shemoyden al Psura Toivim. Or Vayikadam Vayishtachvu, they bow down for the Psura Sagula and Biyas Haaretz and children. It seems that thank Hashem is not enough. There has to be an Ishtachava. To bring out the greatest expression of Shevach, you could even bow down. Okay, it's not done, but definitely we see that this is a lesson in appreciating things, and therefore the bracha is a greater bracha. So let's just make a sikkum, and then we'll apply this lemais. I saw the Rav Shulchan Aruch in Seder Birchas Hanen in the beginning of Perikut Beis. He writes, Kol simchas levav ha'abala adam. Whenever a person is happy, mitoyvis ha'olam hazeh chayiv levarach. And to me that was the lesson. You get something, thank Hashem. Be makriv. Don't accept things as if it's given. Now, if it's just you, make a Shehecheyanu. Im yesh imay shutif, mevarich Hatov U'maitiv. Don't forget, we are called Yehudim, even though we don't come from Shevet Yehuda, like I think the Sfasem said, because Yehuda, the name came from Hapam Oides Hashem, Shenatalti Yaisa Michelki. A Yid is constantly overwhelmed with the feeling of gratitude, Shenatalti Yaisa Michelki. So to apply this Lamaisa, a person that built or bought a new home, Avada, that's a Din HaMishnah. But look at the Mishnah, Bana Bayis Chadash Mevarach Shehecheyanu. So it seems that only if he built a new home. Zogti Yishalmi, in Brachas Tes Gimel, no. Lav Dafka Bayis Chadash, even if he buys a used home, that's what it really is, he buys a home. And that's what the Paiskim say, Mr. Brewer says it also. The only question that bothered me is why did the Mishnah say Bana Bayis Chadash, if it's Lav Dafka? So Rabbi Yankiv Emden in Markatzia and our Simon and Ibn Yisrascha in Magatulum also in Brachas Dafnun Dalid, they both say the Tana was talking in Eretz Yisrael, and therefore, al Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, it's a mitzvah to build a Bayis Chadash. So Milsa Agav Urcha, if you're in Eretz Yisrael, the more we add the Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, the better off it is. I just saw the other day the Chasam Soif in Yeridei Kuf Lamed Ches. Someone asked him, he heard there's a sakana to build Bayis Avonim in Chutz La'aretz with a Chassid. So he says, I don't know, but I can say one thing: when a person builds a magnificent home in Chutz La'aretz, is nearer that he's Nesiyayish min HaGeula, and maybe that's the sakana. Well, what are you building as if you're staying there forever and ever? So according to the Chasam Soif, I also understand it. Why you born a Bayis Chadash? But in Eretz Yisrael, it's a mitzvah. Okay, the Chasam Soif says we build a home to have family because we need place. But the point is that the real simcha is Bana Bayis Chadash in Eretz Yisrael, a great form of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. As you learn the Gemara Gittin, you're allowed to even do certainly Surah D'Abanan for Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. Lamaisa, the Paiskim say if a person buys a home for his family, so then he can make a Hatov U'maitiv. Presumably the wife is a shutiv, and therefore it's a joint benefit, and that's what the Mr. Burr explained. Mr. Burr is talking about you buy a house for shutvis, but l'chayr the same is true with family. It's lav dafka a house, a person that buys a bungalow. It's his home. He can make a Shehecheyanu. I think some bungalows today were nicer than Amolaga homes, so why not be in the Mishnah? Now, the truth is, lav dafka, a home or a bungalow. Mr. Burr says this, the Birchas Abayis says it clearly in Chav Dal Lamed Zayin. A person extends his home, he adds a wing to the house, which benefits all of the family. You make a Hatov U'maitiv. If someone he needs a little peace and quiet, he builds a study just for his learning, then you don't make a tovim. If it's just for your learning, you make a Shehecheyanu. But it's the same idea. The question is if it's just a personal simcha or for others as well. The Aruch HaShulchan and Siv Dalet has a big chiddush. A person that builds, I guess a contemporary mashal would be a garage. He's talking about a storage or a refes bakum or a room of storage. There's no bracha. And he adds, even though legabe the pasuk in Kiseitze, meu ish hashabana bayis, the Gemara in Saita says, even a base teven, a base habaka, base oitzris, it's all b'chlal bayis. But regarding the bracha of Vehamaitiv or Shehecheyanu, he says, the bracha is on a living bayis, that's the supreme simcha, but not on a garage or the like. I saw the Berchas HaBayis, Chavdal Amagimel was mechavan to this also, and he says, just like on an inexpensive suit, you don't make a Shehecheyanu because there's no simcha, on a garage or storage room, even though you're chayiv in a mezuzah, and it's considered bana bayis, legabe exemption from the chama, it's not enough of a simcha regarding a Shehecheyanu / Vehamaitiv. When to make the bracha? You make it when you buy the house, by the closing, when you move in, the mezuzah. So the minig ha'olam is to make when you put up the mezuzah. It's interesting that Kiva Ega in Reish Chav Gimel Sif Cotton Bay says he thinks you can't make a Shehecheyanu on a keli chadash until you tovel it, or on a bayis chadash until you put up mezuzah. Why? Very Toradic, because you can't use it before you have a mezuzah or you toveled it. And Taka the Sharatzian quotes this in our Simon, the Berchas HaBayis, Chavdal Amagim, Shlem Zalman Oyabach, Chav Gimel, Har 54, all say this, that's the minig, you put it up when you put up, you say the bracha when you put up the mezuzah. If someone forgot, and he's still experiencing a special simcha, the simcha continues, so the bracha could be said. Very interesting question. Someone asked me, he bought a house, but as he told me, he took out a big mortgage, and as he said it very frankly, it's more the bank's house than my house. So that's a fair assessment of the situation, and the truth is, I did see Reb Chaim Falaji and Leiv Chaim, Chayla Gimel, Simon Nun Beis, who says if you buy something and you have big chayvis, you can't make a Shehecheyanu. Oich mer simcha. The way he writes it, you all of a sudden become a nechbel akelim, you suddenly disappear, you're afraid to end up in jail, and what kind of Shehecheyanu is that? But the emes is that Tzitz Eliezer and Chayla Gudbei Simon Yotes, he brings this Leiv Chaim, and he says it's not true. Because the biggest raya that doesn't have to be a pure simcha, as we'll soon see, the Mishnah, the Gemara says that when a person dies and his son's yarshin, you make a Vehamaitiv. He would much rather the father be alive. So the way he says it, Vehamaitiv, and this is what we stressed also, is on a tayeles. The joint benefit is the Vehamaitiv. So if a person bought a house and he has where to live with his family, that's a Vehamaitiv. He brings a second raya. The Gemara says, "Tovim ein hara." You also make a Vehamaitiv, which means he found a wonderful item, Shehecheyanu, and but some of the government might find out about it and put him in jail. But right now, as the Rambam explains, right now you're happy, make a Vehamaitiv, make a Shehecheyanu. Don't worry about later. So Lamaisa, I think the achra should be if someone, which typically the case, a person buys a house with a cheshbon, he has a job, he has an income, and he calculates it, and it works, and it will work, and everybody else does it. A normal purchase, you could make a Vehamaitiv or Shehecheyanu. If someone does something in a reckless manner, and it's mamish just a question of time before the bank possesses the house, so it's never his. But generally, people do things with a cheshbon, and a vada, you could make the proper bracha. A person buys a car, lav dafka a new car, he buys a used car, so that's mamish our Gemara. Bana bayis chadash is lav dafka. Again, if it's a good car, avad you can make the bracha, either Vehamaitiv or Shehecheyanu. I couldn't find the raya to a car, but the closest thing I did see, the Buchacha writes, if you buy a sus l'nasiya, you buy a horse for travel, you should make a Shehecheyanu, but since the horse might die, there's no Shehecheyanu. So if you buy a lemon car that is, don't make a bracha. But if you buy a decent car, even a used car, there's no chashash shem yamas, you could make the proper bracha. A leased car is basically a fancy word for rented car, so it's not his, or rented home, rented car, there is no bracha. The question about appliances, someone asked me, he bought a stackable wash and dryer that's in one unit. It was a chiddush, like $1,600. So the truth is, That is mamash our sugya. It's a very expensive purchase that benefits the family. There's a joint benefit. L'chayr, that would be a Vehamaitiv. Minimally, if it's a person living alone, there would be a Shehecheyanu. Clothing is interesting. Clothing, the Rosh in brachas, Perites, Siman Tezayin, only Kalim Chashuvim. And he says that Dumi the Bayis Chadash, but a person buys socks or other inexpensive clothing, you don't make a bracha, but he does add Hakol Lefi Mashu Adam. Because there's an ani that's happy with a new pair of socks, and if it's a significant enough of a simcha, he can make a Shehecheyanu. And the Ramah in Reish Chav Gimel Vav quotes this: if it's not choshev like shirt or shoes or socks, you don't make a Shehecheyanu. But imhu ani v'sameach v'mevarich. And again, it's a tremendous lesson. A person will make a Shehecheyanu on a pair of socks. The answer is yes. If you feel that it's significant, be makir toy. I think the Rosh's words are the klal for these things. Hakol lefi mashu adam. If a person spends money and to him it's a big undertaking and he has a big simcha, don't be afraid to make a Shehecheyanu. Now, if you have to ask the Rav, am I happy enough to make a Shehecheyanu? So you're probably not. The Rav doesn't have to tell you that you're happy or not, but if your person on his own doesn't know, then it's probably not a simcha, but if he knows, he feels confident that this is a great purchase, gesundheit, make the bracha. I must add that the Rashba, that I mentioned earlier in Aleph Reish Mehei, was bothered by a big question. He saw what he calls Gedoyel Mashe Ba'aretz, that didn't make a Shehecheyanu, Vehamaitiv, on the birth of a child, on new purchases. Why not? So the Rashba says, because they Gedoyli Hador, he says again, they must have a reason. And he says a beautiful chiddush. Maybe the real Shehecheyanu is only something that's seasonal, like Yom Tiv, Mizman Lizman. Pesach, Sukkot, again, it signifies, I Baruch made it. But something that happens once in a blue moon, so to speak, that's not seasonal, it's not part of the regular routine of the year, it's like a Shehecheyanu on fruit. And the Gemara says, in the same sugi in Erevin, on a fresh fruit is only a reshus. So once it's a reshus, they didn't do it. And the Ramah quotes, Yesh shekosvu shenahagu lahakol bebracha zu, she'ein chayv el reshus, u'mizeh nispashet, she'rabim makilu be'elu habrachas. So this is rather the minig by many chassidim and many svardim that there's no bracha other than Yom Tovim. Not on the birth of a child, not on a purchase of new items. But I should mention the Ramah is a very mild endorsement. Yes, shekosvu shenahagu lahakol. The Bialach in Reish Yutes Siv Dala Diva Maschel Ve'ein Zeh, he says it doesn't make sense. If it's a reshus and you're allowed to make it, then you have to make it. Where do we find a bracha that's reshus? Either yes or no. So he says it's not a chiyuv kol kach, but avad it's a mitzvah to make a Shehecheyanu or a Vehamaitiv. Mr. Burin Reish Chafei Siv Katantes also says it. If you don't say it, you're not punished. But Roy Li Zor Shaloi Levatloi. So I think we could say that when a person has a significant purchase or occurrence, the minig, many people have to make a Shehecheyanu, Vehamaitiv, depending on the situation. And those that have the minig only on Yom Tiv, it's based on this Rashba, which is quoted by the Ramah. Now, another point that I wanted to mention, I think this is Ha'ara, the main objection of the Rashba is that if you buy something once in a while, it's not Mizman Lizman. So how could you make a Shehecheyanu? So therefore it's only reshus. But when it comes to a tovim Vehamaitiv, it's not, the nusach is not Mizman Lizman. It's not Lizman Hazeh. So why should it be limited to something that's seasonal? And I think that's what the Magen Avram means. On the Ramah that says, some of brachas elu, so the Magen Avram, wait, Bercha Shehecheyanu daf, that the East Gemara should reshus. But other brachas, the Einay Nachan, the Maide Itme Itma. Who says you can be Meikot Vehamaitiv? I think the Svar is very pashut. If the bracha is Lazman Hazeh, and it's not seasonal, so there's no source for the bracha. But if the bracha is a Vehamaitiv, joint benefit, so who says it has to be seasonal? A child's born when he's born. But that's the Maisa, a joint benefit. So I think we could say those that make a Vehamaitiv more than Shehecheyanu, there's a very good source in Allah for that minig. A very big sugya, which is not for today, we did this once, it was tape 359, those that want to hear it, the sugya of Vehamaitiv on two wines. When a person has a better wine, that's a different machab, in fact, it's a whole sim and kufay and hay. But to make a long story short, so we can appreciate it in our sugya, the Mechaber says you could only make a tovim only if you have someone else that's enjoying the wine with you. Dahachi mashma, there's all lashon of Mechaber in Kufay and Asiv Dalid, hatov li v'amaitiv lechaveri. In other words, the tovim on wine is not that I enjoy wine so much I'm making a bracha. That's not. There's no such bracha on enjoying wine. The bracha of enjoying wine is hatov u'maitiv, me and someone else. And that's why you have to have two people drinking at least some amount of wine, and they have to drink both wines together. They have to have a shutfus in it. It's very similar in nature to the hatov u'maitiv that we said, a joint benefit. The only question that we have to ask is, why just two wines? If you have two different types of steak, do you make a hatov u'maitiv? So the simple pshat is that wine is always more chashiv. Yayin is garin bracha la'atzmai. You make a bracha on wine during a Suda, even though you washed. You make a bracha by a bris and a simcha, even though you don't want to drink the wine, as you learned in Masech the Brachas. So wine is more chashiv. But Rabbeinu Bachai in Kada Kemach and Mr. Brewer in Kuf Ayin Hey quotes this, says a Mardiki insight. The hatov u'maitiv on wine is for a totally different reason. Because you learn Masech the Brachas, hatov u'maitiv we also say in benching. But there it has a very different meaning. Harugei betar, that were laying bibazayin for a long time, and they finally were buried. Hatov, they nittin l'kfura, v'amaitiv, that they didn't start to decay. So hatov u'maitiv is sort of a yazkil l'yom hamisa. So to Bachai exactly. When someone drinks wine, a better wine nachtetzu, he's starting to get a little bit out of control. So we have to send him a not such a subtle hint. Make a hatov u'maitiv. Remember harugei betar. And behave. So it's not the bracha mole simcha only, which it is. It's also a very much needed reminder. Rabbi, you're drinking wine, be in control. So that would give a different meaning to hatov u'maitiv. Hatov u'maitiv is don't get out of hand. That's why many poskim say if you have grape juice and then a better wine, you don't make a hatov u'maitiv because it's not mishaker. But whatever the case is, the bracha on wines is also a hatov u'maitiv joint benefit, but really from a different angle. Lamaisa, many people do not make hatov u'maitiv because there are so many different tanoim. I once saw in a sefer there are 15 tanoim to make a hatov u'maitiv on wines. If you do make a hatov u'maitiv, at least you have to do the following. When you make kiddush, if you have two wines on the table, then you have to make kiddush on the better wine. Then you can't make the hatov on the inferior wine. So you have to make a kiddush on the inferior wine, keep the wine out of the room, afterwards bring it in, and have, again, a revius or a leasing of both wines, enjoying with others. Orchim are considered that they own it because you give them the rights to drink. Purim is a much more common scenario for hatov u'maitiv. Someone makes a bracha in his house on a good wine, and also someone brings a shalach man, it's a better wine. Oh, there you have no shaz whatsoever. If he's enjoying the wine with two people, both wines, that's a perfect example of hatov u'maitiv. Interesting question. Choson and kallah, when they're getting married, engaged, and as you know, that period is very enriching. They get gifts and gifts and more gifts. What do you do with the Shehecheyanu, Vehamaitiv? So Lamaisa, one thing is klar, it's kamat beferish Mishnah. A person has a few simchas, he can make one bracha on all of it. The halach is ketanis in chelik aleph kuf tzarek tes medayik. Why is the Mishnah b'soira is toiva is lashon rabbim? Why not basura toiva? So he says it's implying that if you have two good news in one time, one bracha is good enough. If someone he got a new shas and a new watch, and the kallah got her gifts, so you could make one Shehecheyanu on all of the gifts. I should mention the kallah the first week during Sheb Brachas that she makes the mitzvah of Hadlakas Neres for the very first time. She'll probably turn to her husband, her new Rav, and say, "Do I make a Shehecheyanu? I never did this before." And he'll say, "I have no idea." So let me give him an idea. Really, the first to make a mitzvah should be a great Shehecheyanu. But then again, it's not mizman l'zman. Now this is a big sugya in Yeridea Siman Chav Ches, the first time a person does shchita, or kisu adam. It's also in Arachayim Siman Chav Beis regarding tefillin, the first time you wear tefillin. But the minig is not to make on the first time you ever did a mitzvah, because it's a great simcha. But first, a mitzvah lahanisnit. But besides that, it's not mizman lizman. Hopefully, you get married once and only once, and you're like, it's only a one-time thing that a person does that mitzvah of nesuin. Or adlakas neiros, it's the first time, but it's not mizman lizman. So the kallah should have in mind that when they make the Shehecheyanu that she makes, also have in mind the mitzvah adlakas neiros. The choson also, he has in mind the mitzvah of kedushin, which is his mitzvah. It's not a seasonal mitzvah, obviously, but you want to include it anyhow, even though you don't have to. But you make the Shehecheyanu on all the purchases, including the Shehecheyanu on the whatever the person got, the different gifts. A very interesting question someone asked me during the summer. He bought a very expensive hat. I'm talking about a nice expensive hat, and he felt a great simcha. But he heard that on a item that came from a animal, there's no Shehecheyanu. Now he's a little bit inaccurate. The Ramah in the end of our Simon Reish Chav Gimel says that when someone has new clothing, you say Tevala v'techadesh. In other words, Nutza is gesund teheit. You should wear it a long time or live a long time, and you should have to get a new one. No, it's not a bracha which a malchus. It's a wish. It's a nice tefillah. So then the Ramah adds a chiddush. Some say, don't say tevala v'techadesh on an item that came from an animal, a leather belt or leather clothing, because this poor animal had to give its life for your min coat. Don't say tevala v'techadesh. It's insensitive to the animal. So the Ramah says, I don't understand it. It's a very weak reason, because lamaisa, that's what animals are for, to benefit us. But in the tshuva, in Yerideit and Yana, Simon Yud explains that, that's the ili of the animal. But Lamaisa, the Ramah says, V'rachmav al kol masav, even though it's a tam cholosh ma'oid, Rabbi makpidim al zeh shaloi la'omroi. Even though it's a very weak reason, but the minig is you don't say techadesh, actually the real nuskha is tevala v'techadesh, on a item that came from an animal, leather or fur or etc. Now, according to that, this person understood an ashtraimel or a felt hat that comes from an animal, there's no Shehecheyanu. But it's not true. The Ramah's not talking about a bracha that's a chiyuv, or at least a reshus, but to say it, tevala v'techadesh is a nice wish. But if there's an item, a clothing that comes from leather or comes from an animal, again a strimal or a felt hat, avada the minig is, if it's expensive enough, to make a proper, appropriate bracha. The same halachis that we said regarding choson kallah should apply to a mitzvah boy. He gets many different gifts, so it's all his own benefit, and that would be the bracha of Shehecheyanu. On the tefillin, on the mitzvah of tefillin per se, we don't make a Shehecheyanu, because that's not seasonal. That's once that it came the first time. What I saw, which really was inspiring, in the Alicha Shleim in Daled Yudaled, there's a tshuva miksav yad of Zalman, that he came from Yakov descent, so his children put on tefillin a month before their bar mitzvah. So he told them, I'm not giving you the tefillin yet, it's still mine. On the day of a mitzvah, I'm going to give it to you as a matana. I want you to make a Shehecheyanu on the mitzvah, which really you don't make on the Shehecheyanu on the mitzvah itself, but I want you to feel a simcha. So I'm giving you the tefillin today. You make a Shehecheyanu on the gift of tefillin, the physical tefillin, which is very expensive. And also have in mind that you're zaycha to do the mitzvahs, la'arich yomim tovim. And it's really a pata to make a bracha on mitzvahs, Kabbalah's mitzvahs. But he didn't want his children to lose any opportunity of hakaras hatoy. It was a valuable chinuch the children had. He sort of not created, but he sort of maneuvered in a way. You make a Shehecheyanu on the tefillin, now it's yours, and also have in mind all the mitzvahs that you're zaycha to do. An interesting question which people often ask about is the birth of a child. So this l'chayr is very simple. It's straightforward. Zaktimar and brachis and our sugun and Testament Beis Yolde Ishtei Zacha Oima Vehamaitiv. Now, Grada, you notice, doesn't say he saw the baby. He heard, because the Hatov U'maitiv is he heard that he got a child together with his wife. So the Gemara says, what kind of Hatov U'maitiv? I said, what do you mean? His wife also benefits from the child. Now, if you notice, it says clearly Yolde Ishtei Zacha, nothing about an akeva. Why? So the Rashba in that same tshuva, Dalet Ayin Zayin, explains, because the truth is, sons are more helpful. He quotes the Gemara, he doesn't mention the Gemara, but it's in more in Ksubas Daf Samach Dalet, that a woman wants to have children, because she needs chutra liyada umara l'kfura. Rashi explains she gets older, she needs someone to help her, and she needs someone to bury her. So this is a little pragmatic, but the point is, sons are the ones that do the schlepping and the moving and all the shopping. Okay, today the boys are learning and the girls doing the work, so a little bit tzarachian, but at least the Gemara says that the sons are more of beneficial as far as the parents are concerned. The Gemara says in Bava Basra that of Zayin Bezi, Ef Shel Oilam B'lei Schar B'lei Nekevos, Ashri Mi Shebanav Zecharim, Oilei Lemi Shebanav Nekevos. Please don't quote me on this, but it seems that there's a greater benefit from boys. But it's not that boys are better than girls, or the boys in yeshiva, they tease their sisters, you people are a bunch of losers, there's no bracha on you, if anything maybe dayanemis, but nothing else. No, it doesn't say that. It's a pashut, it's a joint benefit. The boys help the father and the mother. And that's why the Mechab in Reish Chav Gimel Sif Aleph begins our siman, Yolda Ish Zachar, him and his wife make the bracha, Hatov U'maitiv. It's pashut, a joint benefit. Now, but what to me was amazing is, when you have a baby, a newborn, all it represents at this point is endless work. For years. When do you see the chutzah liyad, the mara l'kfura? Hopefully 100 years from now. But it's an unbelievable insight. Chazal was so sensitive to hakaras hatov. You're looking at a baby that represents bottles and diapers and sleepless nights. No, don't see that. See, eventually in the 120 he's going to bury you. A mardika tifa appreciation for hakaras hatov. Makir tov. You don't see a baby. You see the chutzah liyad umar l'kfur. But what I do want to mention, this minig is the minig of many people. Again, Chassidim don't make these brachas. Like we said earlier, they rely on the Rashba. But the birth of a girl seems to be mentioned nowhere. It's not in the Gemara, it's not in Shulchan Aruch. And indeed, from the simple reading of the Gemara, on the birth of a girl, there is no bracha that's said. Now, Lamaisa, what's interesting is the Mishtabura by us, and the Netziv and Meishav Dava on that sugya in brachas, say, Avad there is no Vehamaitiv, but at least a Shehecheyanu. The Netziv says, pardon me, when he buys a new shifcha. I mean, a girl does a lot of help. And the Mishnah Berurah says also, it's not different than any other good news. So it's interesting that people group the two together. I do make on boys and girls, I don't make, it's not true. It's two different velten almost. A birth of the baby boy is Vehamaitiv, which is a din ha-gemara and Shulchan Aruch b'li chaylik. Okay, some don't do it, they make them. But it's a din ha-gemara. Girls is not mentioned in the Gemara. The Netziv and the Mishnah Berurah says it as halach. Now, of course, the kasha is, there's nothing in Shulchan Aruch about electricity because they didn't have electricity. But they had births of girls. So why does it say in Shulchan Aruch you make a Shehecheyanu? So Moshe and Chelekei, the Tshuva says it's because it's pashut. You don't have to say a Shulchan Aruch. Others say, if I care, this is right, you don't. They once said, Rabbi Yakov, why don't we see people making a bracha on births b'chlal? So typically he answered because they're too mevulbul, they're too confused. But how do you make a bracha? On a boy you make a Vehamaitiv, and a girl like Mr. Boy you make a Shehecheyanu. Now again, there are many people that will make on a boy, but not on the girl. It's not in Shulchan Aruch, it's a chiddush, Mr. Berurah, Netziv. I mean, you could say it, we talk a minute to say it, but again, you can't say, either everything or nothing. It's not true. Boy is a Gemara, Shulchan Aruch, and girl is a chiddush of the late Achrayim. What I should mention, the Buchacha in Reish Chav Gimel, in our Simon, he says, the reason why you don't make on the girl is, when you make on the birth of a son, it includes a girl. Because 40 days before a child is born, there's already the machris is shidduch. So you're making on your son shidduch. So hopefully every girl will have a bracha on it from the fact that the person made a bracha on the boy. So when you have a child, have in mind also his kallah when you say Hatov U'maitiv, because that's where the bracha is going on. An einikel, person has a first einikel or any einikel, he's very moli simcha. So the Mishnah Berurah and our simon quote to say for Chassidim, you can make a bracha. So the Mishnah Berurah, to be halacha, I don't agree, because if the bracha on a child is that moral the chutzah liyad moral l'kfura, the joint benefit, that doesn't apply to an einikel. They say, the parents do the diapers, and the grandparents are just there for the nachas, but not the help. So it's interesting that some people will make a Shehecheyanu, not a Vehamaitiv, on an einikel's birth, especially the first one, but it's not so pashut, it's b'chalal not pashut, because again, as we said, it has to be on a toyeles, a joint benefit. I once saw Rav Ozna Chelik Chesim in Lamed Hey as a shaila, where someone was shown his newborn daughter, so he made a Shehecheyanu, and then told them, "Oh, I'm sorry, it's the wrong child." This usually happens when they show someone, see that? That's your child. And he goes, "Oh, I can't believe it has my eyes, my wife's nose, my shviga's ears, my mother's chin." He goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, it's the next baby." Everybody see what they want to see in a baby, but at the end of the day, he made a bracha on the wrong baby. So Rav Wozner has a beautiful chap, and he says, if you make a Vehamaitiv on the wrong baby, quote unquote, the bracha is chal. Because the bracha is on the simcha of the shmuas tovim. But by girl, the bracha is only on haraya, the first time you saw it. That's the bracha is. Not worse than haraya for the first time. So therefore, if it's the wrong re'iyah, you would have to make another bracha. The bracha Vehamaitiv is even on shmuas, right? That's what the Mishnah says. But he says, girl bracha is like the first time. So therefore, that's why he says you have to make another bracha. A very challenging part of our sugya is a geferish gemara. The father dies, and the son makes first dayan emes, and then Vehamaitiv if there are brothers. And this is quoted in Shulchan Aruch and Reish Chav Gimel Siv Beis. Rather, the order from the Gemara in Shulchan Aruch is first dayan emes, and then Vehamaitiv, understandably, because first comes first. First the ptira, that's dayan emes, and after the ptira there's Yerusha. But the obvious question, it sounds so insensitive, with dayan emes in such a dark, tragic moment that a person's thinking about Yerusha, and the Minchas Allahs and the Mukir HaChaim and now with Simon, he says, I never saw this by anybody, like Shemanu mi'olam. It's almost achzmerzi kachzariyis noira, which it is. By Lavaya, he's in a, say a bracha Vehamaitiv Shehecheyanu, but it's a very good kasha. But the kasha is not on me or you. The kasha is on a gemara and a machaba bali chaylik. But I think the yisoid is the same yisoid. A person has to be makir toiv. Now he's getting a tremendous benefit. Now, a Vehamaitiv is not necessarily the word simcha. It's benefit. Right? We said earlier, even a person found something, he makes a Vehamaitiv, even though the government might find out and put him in jail. But you look at what you see, and you have to give a karstay for that. Chazal was teaching us a tremendous lesson. Meisei mutal lefanav, dayan emes, but you have a benefit, don't overlook it. Say it. Of course, don't belt it out about Levaya, don't say it loudly, say it privately. But what to me was even a bigger chiddush, both the Gesher Achayim, with Ches Dalet Gimel, and the Munkach and Mukar Achayim, both have a different problem. How could this person say a Vehamaitiv now? Now he's an Oinen. Oinen doesn't even bench, doesn't make brachas, so he's going to say a Vehamaitiv nach dazu? So it can't be. But the Shlomo Zalman Oyebach in Alicha Shlomo Chav Gimel, Ha'or Lam Gimel says it's not true. From the Gemara we see you make two brachas together. What's the pshat? So listen to his svara. He says, why is a person making dayan emes? He lost a relative in a tragic way. Because even in the darkest moment, you have to see through the darkness and see the light. Dayan emes. Part of the tziddik hadin is Hatov U'maitiv. It's not a stira. Now is the time to say it. How could he say dayan emes if he's an aynan? There it says, now is the time. Again, a tremendous sensitivity not to give up any opportunity of praising the Rebbeinu Shalom. The part of the tziddik hadin is a package. The Petira, dayan emes, and Vehamaitiv. But one thing I could say, Midin HaGemara, it's interesting, Midin HaGemara, there's a bracha of a Vehamaitiv on the passing of a father. It's interesting, they were very practical. In the Magen Avraham, in Reish Chav Beis, Sif Kat now quotes a Sefer Chasidim, Shin Pei Beis, someone that's very poor that has to marry a rich woman, push it only for the money. Those days they were very practical. So he makes Vehamaitiv and dayan emes. It's interesting. In Sefer Chasidim, the order is fakert. Dayan emes, Vehamaitiv, which I understand, because first he gets married is the problems. Hopefully the money comes later. But what's interesting is that bracha dayan emes, I think, there's always a shortage of brachas by the chuppah. Imagine you get called up, you're mechuppah dayan emes. But again, the message is he's getting married to someone obviously that's a sort of moitzim mar mimaves. You have to make a bracha, sort out the facts. Dayan emes, Vehamaitiv simultaneously. Lamaisa, again, it's all about makir toiv, and that's basically the nakuda. Lamaiser Shlomo Zalman himself writes that the minig is not to make the bracha, only a chidei skula, and even those chidei skula that do make the bracha, it should be done b'tzina in a very private, quiet way. What I want to mention is the halachas ketanos in Chelik Beis, Kuf Samach Beis, writes that the only original chiyuv bracha on Yerusha is only when he heard after the Petira about a big Yerusha. If he knew about it all along, so it's not like a great simcha. And I saw the Shevet HaKossi in Aleph Kuv Daled, Aleph Kuv Beis, so that's another reason why the minig is not to make this bracha. God the Sharatzian and Sifkat Yud quotes it and is not so sure about it, but the minig is not, that's not done. But what to me again was another beautiful insight, the halachas ketanas in a different tshuva early in Siman Chelik Aleph Siman Reish asked another very obvious question. Let's get this straight. A person dies and his son has no brothers. He gets the full Yerusha, Shehecheyanu. He has 13 brothers, so he makes Vehamaitiv. Double simcha, what's double simcha? He gets 1/13 of the Yerusha. So no, the answer is, it's not about getting, it's about being makar toiv. If this person could share the simcha with 12 other brothers, so that's Vehamaitiv. Simcha is not just getting, simcha is giving also. And if he has 12 other brothers, he's 12 brothers, he makes a Vehamaitiv. It's not a big in the Shehecheyanu. He's not getting so much money. Who said money is simcha? The simcha is a Vehamaitiv lachin. That's why I understand the pshat. What does a person do when he has a suffix bracha regarding Shehecheyanu or Vehamaitiv? So there's nothing to talk about a suffix Shehecheyanu. We don't say. Suffix Vehamaitiv, there's a very interesting eitzah that the poskim say. And that is when you get to benching, have in mind in the Hatov U'maitiv. Now this has a source in both Mishnah Berurah and the Magen Avraham, the beginning of Kuf Ayin Hey. If someone, listen to this chiddush, if someone drank wine during the Suda and he benches on a better wine, he does not make a Hatov U'maitiv on the second wine because the Hatov U'maitiv of benching patted the second wine. So you see, Hatov U'maitiv and benching could patter the wine, which is a little strange because it's a much longer nusach. So the answer is, so what? You get more for your money. A longer nusach is more. What bothered me is the Hatov U'maitiv in benching is sort of a bittersweet bracha. Because it's Harugei Beta, but very good. That's why it goes for wine. Why? Wine also needs sort of a dampener to relax his simcha. But this has l'chari no shaychus to our case. A person he bought a big appliance, he's not trying to make a bracha. Who said it helps Hatov U'maitiv in benching? Maybe it's only wine that's part of benching, and Hatov U'maitiv of Harugei Bet is similar to wine. Maybe that helps. But I did see the Buchachin and the Reish Chav Gimel, the Taisa Shulchan, Samach Daled Daled, the Orlatzin Daled Mem Zayin, and Rabbi Yashiv and Ashriya Ish all say, L'maisa Hatov U'maitiv in benching will pater Hatov U'maitiv that is required when you have a suffix. That would be a good alternative. If someone, his minig is not to make on the birth of a child, but he feels I have to do something, so when you bench, have in mind that Hatov U'maitiv. That l'chayr is pashik. There used to be an eitzah, when a person had a suffix, he would go to the fruit store and buy a fresh fruit. But again, today it's questionable. I say this as a mind that Rabbi Yashiv once said regarding a Shehecheyanu shayla, we rely on a pri chadash. So Tamidim did not know which pri chadash. Is it in Archaim? Is it in Yeredeya? There's a few sugis of Shehecheyanu. So they asked him, Rebbe, which pri chadash did you mean? So he laughed and said, "Oy, I meant get a pri chadash." And he said, when I was a child, I saw a painting of the pri chadash, and under it, the caption was, Haraya pri chadash, oy Shehecheyanu. So that's where I was coming from, but I thought you would chap. But anyhow, today don't rely not on the pri chadash and not on a pri chadash, because the whole pri chadash is questionable. A person was supposed to say Hatov U'maitiv, and by mistake he said Shehecheyanu, or vice versa. So this is beautiful. It's mamash our sugya. If he's supposed to say Shehecheyanu, and he said Hatov U'maitiv, it's like saying Ha'etz on a potato. It's too big. But if he's supposed to say Hatov U'maitiv, and instead he said Shehecheyanu, it's like saying Adama on an apple. And the Bialacha says this mamish. Because the emes is, even though Hatov U'maitiv is sort of a different type of bracha, it's me and someone else, but at the end of the day, it's a shevach. So Shehecheyanu is one level, Hatov U'maitiv is a bigger level. Yesh b'chlal masayim yemona. What was interesting is, where the Bialacha is really going on, the Yerushalmi in Perik Tes, Halacha Gimel says, if I receive an expensive gift, I make a Vehamaitiv even if I'm living alone. Why? Doesn't say why. Zok the Rosh in brachas tes zayin. You know why? Because you have a benefit, you got a gift. And the one that gave it has a benefit, he gave it to you. So that's Vehamaitiv. So the Yishalmi, with the Rosh's hezbollah, saying a tremendous chiddush. When you receive an expensive gift, you can make a Vehamaitiv. Frek the goyin in Bir Agra in Arachayim, the var of chalushim. So Oibazai, the one that gave the gift, should also make a Vehamaitiv. I got the simcha of giving. You got to give the gift. You got the simcha of receiving. And the Magen Avraham says not everybody's an adam chashiv that it's such a hana. Lamaisa the Bialacha says, but what should I do? The Mechaba quotes this Yishalmi, this Rosh, that the receiver of an expensive gift makes a Vehamaitiv. So then the Mishnah makes this cheshbon, and he says, listen, the Mechaba says to make the bracha. The Goyin and many others argue. You know what you should do? You receive and make a Shehecheyanu. Because if you make a Vehamaitiv, you're not supposed to, you're not yoitz, it's too big. If you're supposed to make a Vehamaitiv, make a Shehecheyanu yoitz as a b'di'evet, so to speak. Better do that than make the wrong bracha. So this Bialacha tells us two yesodis. First of all, we don't paskin like the Shulchan Aruch that the receiver makes Vehamaitiv. And number two, that if you have a Shehecheyanu instead of a Vehamaitiv, you're yoitz but not fakert. Agav, again you see Chazal believed in us that I can make a bracha because I know you have so much simcha giving me that gift. That's again a Yidin Kol Yisrael a Revim Zelozeh. But what's interesting is someone told me that when he bought his kallah, the gifts of the wedding ring and the watch, he made a Vehamaitiv. So I told him politely, you made two mistakes. First of all, that even if you go with the Shulchan Aruch, that's only the one that's receiving makes a Vehamaitiv. You bought it for her, that's not a Vehamaitiv. And also, Lamaisa, the Paiskim say, Mr. Brewer said, we don't paskin like that, Shulchan Aruch. I should say, Rav Moshe in Even Ezer Chelik Daled, Siman Pei Daled says, when the choson buys a ring, he makes no bracha. When he gives it to her, the kallah, she makes a Shehecheyanu. But then Rav Moshe says, the kallah, when she gets all these gifts, that from the choson, she could make a Vehamaitiv. Good for me and good for the choson they gave it. So apparently Rav Moshe did paskin like the Shulchan Aruch. One thing that I wanted to clarify, let's say a person had a baby and his minig is you make a Vehamaitiv, a baby boy. What does that mean, Vehamaitiv? Both husband and wife make the bracha, or only the husband says it and includes his wife? So I was thinking, this is the old shaila that negates to many different items. If you have a suffix, when you're making a bracha with someone else, so Chassidim typically each makes their own bracha on Kiddush, on the Moitzi, and others make one Roivam Hadras Melech. But it's possible this Vehamaitiv could be, all agree, only one says. Since the bracha is a joint benefit, it would make sense that the bracha is together. But I didn't find that in earlier Paiskim for sure, and I think I know why. If the bracha is Hamaitiv Lanu, the Nusach of bracha includes us as one unit, then I have to make it for the unit. But the Nusach is Hatov U'maitiv, me and you, so why can it be that me and you both make it? It's not a stira. If the bracha includes both as one, fine, then one. But here it's both. Hatov U'maitiv. Reb Shlomo Zalman in Halicha Shlomo Chav Gimel Tezayin says, if you buy things for the Bnei Abayis, you should make the bracha for them, because it's not so posh that they're mechuyev to make the bracha to make the bechlal, because it's really part of your family, has a different cheshbon. But I didn't find mefurish that only one makes the bracha. But it's probably practical. After the birth of a child, the wife's not in the proper frame of mind to make a bracha, then the husband can make for both. Let me leave you with two beautiful shilas. A person had twins, boy and girl, what bracha to make? So we'll say, well, make a Vehamaitiv and you yaitza, but not so pashit. Because if you hold you have to make on the girl Shehecheyanu, Vehamaitiv does include it. But his shaila was deeper. His shaila, the baby was born on Tisha B'Av. The twins actually were born on Tisha B'Av. So here you see a beautiful nafkamina, Shehecheyanu and Vehamaitiv. The Pais can say Shehecheyanu should not be said even during the 9 days. But a Vehamaitiv could be said even on Tisha B'Av. It's not a word of simcha, azman hazeh. And Taka, the Gedolei HaPoskim, the Sharachuv and Tafkuf Nalav Yud says, you could even say Vehamaitiv on Tisha B'Av. And the last Shalavite should be Negei and Mamish now, when Mashiach will come, B'mheir v'yameinu, what bracha will we make? So Rabbi Shlomo Zalman, in the very last tshuva, in Chelik Aleph of his tshuvas, has a tshuva from Shmuel Hamana, and that both seem to say you make a Shehecheyanu. And it was a chiddush to me, why isn't that a classic of Vehamaitiv? The answer is the Beferish Mishnah. When it rains for God's Klal Yisrael, what bracha do we make Shehecheyanu? Because each enjoy it individually. When Mashiach will come, it's a joy. We enjoy each one individually, and the bracha Shehecheyanu.
Amen. Beautiful shir. Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky, the story, he went to the Chazon Ish and he asked Rabbi Chazon Ish if he can make a Shehecheyanu on a new suit. That's what it's quoted, Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky. So Rabbi Chaim Chazon Ish asked Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky, are you happy with your suit? Your fraser with your suit? And Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky gelicked and land, and he didn't think about the suit. So he says he's not sure. So the Chazon Ish says, Nit emes, you're happy with the suit. But because you asked, like Rabbi Smith said, make sure to be moitzed with Yom Tov. So everybody should be moitzed the Shehecheyanu. Whenever you make it, save it all for Yom Tov. Rabbi said, before we say Kaddish, we spoke about Shehecheyanu, big simcha for everybody, but unfortunately last week there was a tremendous tragedy in Klal Yisrael. Our mother was nifta with 2 kids. She was sick for 8 years. Her husband came here, and the Rebbe was machazik him here all these years, the 8 years that he was here. And the Rabbanim Mamish, it's going to bitter the Levaya last week in Yisrael. They're trying to put a kerem for these yomim, and now we're asking everybody, please give at least $100 to help out these yomim. Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky just signed and begging everybody to help out and make a kerem for these yomim. And this chos, everybody had a check to congregation Besan or a credit card, they had a appeal in this shul, the Shabbos. And this chos, we should be happy den Yom, it kommt the heilige Tage, wa chodesh Hashem hepach lem yogoin le simche, me'evel le Yom Tov is only be able to say Shehecheyanu v'kimonu and simchas mitach simcha. Rabbi Chaim Hashem Rav Gosh Baruch Hu Zag Yisrael v'yichibram t'ay mitzvah shenemar ben Chavas man tzidka yagdil toira v'yadeh Kaddish. Amen. Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbi. Bricho. Amen. Amen. May Rabbi say, you see the flyer, please come over now and give you $100 donation or even $1,000. A caring for the Yisraelim checks congregation beside there's a credit card right on the beamer. Come over, and if you come over to Machazik the Yisraelim, the Aviyah Yisraelim, the Eibush will come Machazik all of us to have only simchas. Mit der Simcha, und wir wissen, der Katzor ist nur Simchas. Shkoyach, Tizkel Mitzvahs. Tomorrow the shir will be, Rabbi Reuben is giving the shir tomorrow. The topic is a very interesting topic, anti-Semitism. This is the topic. Yeah? Alucha v'agudah. Rabbi said, give you checks congregation beside.
On a child?
On a child, I mean, a cold.
Stolen makes?
A kid, Chassidim used to make. The Rebbe stole, the Rebbe used to come to Yishalayim, the mail on him, Shehecheyanu, the whole shul, Chassidim used to forget, Chassidim used to.
Still do.
My Zaydin made. My Zaydin made any golf like a real Chassid. Ze wensen weer. Ze wensen weer. And frucht, only Santa doesn't make a frucht. Who makes a frucht? Every Rebbe makes it, you don't need the papers. Jeder macht the frucht. The only one is something, the Yakov.
Nowadays?
Everybody makes it.
I'm just telling you, this is not like years ago.
Which other seed do I still make? I'll talk to you later.
On Tovim?
No, on a child's birth.
see, that's a personal question. You have to ask your own, but there's a lot of people.
People don't know about it.
Reb Chaim is the biggest choson of Shehecheyanu, you know. I made a confront. He asked him. I made right in front of him.
Happy to say, I still quoted this story you said. And he said, Chazon Ish does a sheker. Someone said the Chazon Ish could not say the word sheker.
He says, emes?
No, say, he could not. He said the word sheker is nivel peh.
I said it's in Hashem.
No, Kurt. I saw a story printed and Chazon Ish said sheker. It can't be. Chazon did not say the word sheker.
No, that's a face. I think it's...
I have to tell you a story. When you were talking about Adult,
I come to Shima, Rabbi, don't you have the
I had never went in the Jersey. I spent the whole day. God knows, but I mean, going to that. And then they came back. It was at least 1,000. I was going to New Jersey, when you finish, you were going to pick it up and then I come down. Me, I'm going to piece together. It was my whole level.
I'm looking for a question.
I went to food.
Saying the thing. We got two gas questions there. So how we're listening at the sushi. Look at it. See
those days, they did not know food.
the bungalow, right? If you have breakfast, what breakfast is? If you have cereal, breakfast cereal. Whole year, breakfast cereal. If you have tomorrow, you get fresh new breakfast cereal. It's the same taste, it's the same taste. And you make it but it's the same. I ate yesterday. It tastes the same. No. People like every second week.
Overnight people.
I watched it right there.
Wasn't have no idea about it.
You don't know. Everything has a date. Exactly.
It's not frozen? I didn't know it's frozen.
Buy an orange, it's called frozen. Every today, you know exactly it's new. Take the guy with the smartphone. I don't have a smartphone.
So?
Take it, they can look
But you don't have a smartphone, so how do you know?
They know today exactly when. They know seasons and
But nobody has a smartphone.
You're living a whole year with all these Shehecheyanu fruits all over. You walk in the orchard store and flowers.
Excuse me, that's what's called your Morgan wrong. But we're wrong, right? We have the same students.
Problem is there's no simcha.
Forget, the seeds are made on the food.
No simcha.
Just listen to Shehecheyanu share that he gave like 10-15 years ago.
The moment says,
Mainly about
Fleisch und gerade jeden Tag. Die Zeit ist aber ganz
every neighborhood.
it's not as much as mine. They'll make it on the first time.
Okay, good.
I made him in front of the car video.
Spread it out every year on Shavuos. The first time Shavuos, around the corner from this house there's a cherry tree. And they pick cherries before Shavuos every year. And every Shavuos, right, makes by the couple.
You want to see?
So I
They bring it in fresh
It's not heavy as that.
You're right there. And he makes a Shehecheyanu every year.
that I can hear. My neighbor had it. I don't know where you came from.
But a fruit is not older than 6 months, besides apples and oranges. It can't last. Every fruit is good. Every fruit is good. Every fruit is good. Most of things are I want you to look. I made a tape for that. Rabbi Kanevsky makes on clothing, on food and everything. And Rabbi Kanevsky on choson. That doesn't say shkar. But you should have any food in 30 days.
Jetzt hat ja
How do you ask out the clothing? You're young.
No, that's not why
why did he not make that? Why do you ask about the mission?
because they can look at the land, he's in the suit, he went with a shoe,
Once
he
that
didn't want to
happens,
buy it, so he was going to pay for the suit.
once that happens, he's got to make the
Sie gewählt für sein Choson.
Simcha.
I mean, it's a fair share.
Ich mach nicht.
I mean, and what makes food shine? There's 100 people about a picture.
Macht was yomim, es gibt bis mal, ich habe schon so beschwert. Ich mach das nicht. Ich mach das vorbei, ich mach das.
Okay, but I'll...
Wie das noch gemacht?
Yeah, Simcha.
But no, coming you see crazy. The kids in camp. I want to tell you something. I want to tell you He looks so mean. Him himself. He says, I'm him. So tell me, behind the place that I see, God had it. You don't shit about this. The reason why, but he made it a foundry even without the first time, even before the first time. That's crazy. You can make all those shyness. All the small writing. That's what's in the story. That's like the end is young to be kallah. Only
Rabbi says since the break was longer than usual, we're going to say Hatov U'maitiv that was starting the sikkim. Shh. Let me turn it loud up.
Just to review what we learned today, one thing all agree, a Yid is called the Yehudi because he's looking for ways to recognize and appreciate and be Oides Hashem, and this sugya highlights that longing that a person tries to make brachas on everything to recognize every bit of good. But basically, when a person has a moment in life of Shehecheyanu lazman hazeh, he makes the bracha. The bracha is to say, I appreciate, it's a kommt nicht garnished, I'm not from the entitlement generation, everything is mine. It brings out the feelings which really bring simchas achayim. If he recognizes the happiness, he's happy. A Shehecheyanu b'derech klal is on zman hazeh. Shehecheyanu v'kimanu v'yanu l'zman hazeh. The Shehecheyanu that all agree is a chiyuv is on Yom Tiv, because it's seasonal, it comes another season, Baruch Hashem alive for this Yom Tiv. As far as the Shehecheyanu on fruits, the Gemara calls it a rishus. And then the third level is when a person buys a purchase, a great purchase, which is not seasonal, it's not from time to time, but it's the simcha that causes it. The joint benefit is what really Vehamaitiv is all about. That a person buys a car and he has a great simcha, he can make a Shehecheyanu. But he buys a car with a shutif, or buys a house with a shutif, then it's a greater simcha. The simcha that he's sharing it with someone else, and that's the bracha of Hatov U'maitiv, Hatov for me, Maitiv for someone else. The person buys a home, lav dafka home, we said even buying a used home, or a bungalow, or an extension that benefits the family, that's a Vehamaitiv. He just adds a room for his own personal study or office, then the bracha is Shehecheyanu. When do you make the bracha? When put up the mezuzah is the ideal time, but anytime afterwards, as long as he still feels the simcha. A bayis has to be a place of living, a garage and a storage shed does not require a Shehecheyanu. Even if you have a mortgage, but basically it's his home, he makes the Shehecheyanu Vehamaitiv. And like someone asked, do you make it when you finish the mortgage? Ready? Once you made it once, you don't make it a second time. A car that's even new or used, but if it's a significant purchase, is Shehecheyanu Vehamaitiv. Lease car does not require any bracha. An appliance is only said if there's a big simcha. The joint teyelis would be a Vehamaitiv. Clothing, if there's a real simcha, you could make the Shehecheyanu. When it seems that those have the minig not to, I was told that not all chassidim don't make the bracha of Shehecheyanu Vehamaitiv. So basically you should find out your own minig, but those that have the minig to make a Shehecheyanu, if the simcha is shared with others, then the bracha is elevated to a Vehamaitiv. Also someone pointed out that maybe there are more than just some people that make on fruits. If you know for sure it's a fresh crop, you could make a Shehecheyanu if it brings that simcha. 2 wines is a different type of Vehamaitiv, because it's the wine which is chashiv that I'm sharing with others, or else it's the wine and the potential of sakana. You have to make a Vehamaitiv to remember harugei beta, and that sort of neutralizes the excessive simcha. Choson and kallah should make one bracha on all of the simcha, all of their purchase, all of what they buy, what they got as gifts. You don't make on the first time you do a mitzvah. Shehecheyanu on a hat or a strimal or a fur coat could be said it's only techadish v'tevala. By mitzvah boy should make one Shehecheyanu on all of the gifts, including the tefillin, including the kabbalah's al chashamayim. On a birth of a son, the Shulchan Aruch and the Gemara says to make a Vehamaitiv. Some don't. On a girl, there are different minhagim, but certainly Vehamaitiv is much more of a chiyuv than on a birth of a girl. On an einikel, the minig is not to make a bracha. Some Zalman would go out and buy 2 wines, one better than the other, and he would make a Vehamaitiv and include the einikel with that. Today we don't say on Yerusha, but if a person does say, it's only B'tzinah. And a suffix Vehamaitiv is say it in benching. Have in mind the Vehamaitiv in benching to include it, or else drink 2 wines and have in mind that bracha on the suffix. If a person said Shehecheyanu instead of a Vehamaitiv, he would be Yaitza. Vehamaitiv instead of Shehecheyanu, he would not be Yaitza. If you receive a gift, the minig is to make only a Shehecheyanu, not a Vehamaitiv, unless you go with the Mechabashita. Each can say their own Vehamaitiv. If it's not practical, if the wife after birth is not up to saying the bracha, the husband could say it and might see the wife. On twins, you will have to make 2 brachas, on the boy Vehamaitiv and on the girl Shehecheyanu. We do say Vehamaitiv on the 9 days, even on Tisha B'Av, and for Mashiach, Meir Yameinu, the bracha is Shehecheyanu. Okay.
Rabbi said, please take care of the assignment, please. The schools are all lang gebencht, gesund und stark, mit Simchas, mit der Simcha, Gesundheit. Tisken mitzvah.